or an ayin amid base. We're by the 6 lines down by the pasuk. Starts by the pasuk. Divrei Lemuel Melech Masa Sheyisarsu Imai. Lemuel is Shlomo HaMelech, and this is talking about what his mother chastised him. Amrav Yochanan Mishum Shimon Yochai Melamed Shekafasa Imai Ela Amid. His mother Bathsheba tied him to a whipping post. This is strange to me because it's talking about after. I think it is after he became Melech. I don't know how his mother was tying him up to give him Malchus on Ayin Amud Beis. V'Amalei, and she said to him, "Ma bri uma bri, my son, and what have you done, the son of my rechem, uma bar nidri, the son who I made nadarim about." What does this mean? Ma bri hakol yoidim she'avicha yorish shemayim abba. How could you do this, my son? She was angry at him that he was living ostentatiously, too materialistically. She said to him, everyone knows your father, David HaMelech, was a Yerush Shamayim. So now any bad habits in that regard, everyone's going to blame it on me. Uma bar bitni, and that, what are you doing, the son of my womb, the son of my rechem? Other women who were born they became mubaris. Their father, they didn't go to spend the night with David. I pushed the matter and I kadeshili ben mezuzah mulovin, like be a wall of the fetus to be stronger. So she said that I did this in order that you should be stronger, and instead it came out that you're using your strength or your beauty to indulge in olam hazeh. Everyone else, all the other mothers, the other consorts of David HaMelech, they made the darim in order that their child should be the one to inherit the throne. My neder was Yeheli ben Zoritz Mamula b'Torah. I should have a son who's mezuras and doing mitzvahs. He's a zaras and he learns Torah and he's prepared to say nevias. Al lemalachim lemuel al lemalachim shisu yayin. What does it mean? Al lemalachim amle malcha etzam malachim shesoshin yayin mishtakrim v'aimim lamalanu kel. It's saying, what is this? Lemuel al lemalachim lemuel. That means that they say lama kel. It's an expression that means they say, what do we need with Hashem? That they drink wine. That's what the pasuk was saying. That was what Bathsheba was criticizing Shlomo and saying, don't become like these other malachim who drink wine and then they become full of themselves. The roiznim, the taich of roiznim is malachim. So l'roiznim iseicha, roiznim to the kings. What is there is no sheikha, there's no beer. Misha kol razi oilam gluyim loy yishta yayim v'yishtaka. Someone who all the Shlomo HaMelech was someone. There's a reference to Shlomo HaMelech that he was malei chachma. So therefore it doesn't it's not appropriate for you that you should drink wine and become shikar and then forget all your knowledge. Doesn't mean that roizne is not roize. It's not from the lashon of secrets. Rather, it's the like the pashto pshat. Roizne is kings. So this means all the kings, all the wise people of the world come to ask to his door, to ask him questions. It's again not appropriate that you should go and be mishtaka. So 5 lines down in the wide lines on Ayin Amud Beis. Amar of Yitzchak. How do we know that Shlomo HaMelech agreed with his mother? He realized he had done wrong. It's a little, it's hard to breathe, you know? So much dust in there. No.
There's a lot of dust there.
Yeah. Tachsiv, Hanoichi, Meish, because I'm foolish from a man. I am at base, middle, 5 lines down, right in the middle of the Amid. I am more foolish than a ish, and I haven't got the bina, the understanding of an adam. That said, I was more foolish. Shlomo Melech said, I am more foolish than an ish. He was referring to Noach. Noach was, like we saw before, Noach was nichshal in shikras. He drank wine, and that's how he ended up being mesuris or meruba by shame, by chum. Ish ha'adama v'loy binas adam li ze adam harishon. That's Adam is Adam harishon. And again, Adam harishon also, we said that he ate from the Eitz Hadas. According to one pshat, Eitz Hadas was a geffen. So that's what Shlomo was saying. He's referencing Noach and Adam, that he should have learned from them to be careful about drinking. This is all good stuff. Anyone has to talk to a teenage son next week. Achal b'chaburas mitzvah. We said that a ben sayru mayra, back, we're done with the yayin, we're back to ben sayru mayra. So one of the requirements of a ben sayru mayra, for a person to be chayav for a ben sayru mayra, is that he has to eat it. It can't be eaten in a gathering for a mitzvah. Amar bavo, he's only chayav if he eats it with a bunch of good for nothings. If he eats it with a chaburas mitzvah, meaning they're coming together, we give a bunch of examples. For example, he's going to a chasana, then he's not a ben sayru mayra. Time of the mitzvah, halah mitzvah avagav delav kulas rikin. The Gemara says, but that's mashma. The only problem when you go to a chasana is that it's for a mitzvah. But pashtus, not everyone by a chasana could be a good for nothing. So there should be 2 problems. Even if it wasn't a mitzvah, he still wouldn't be chayiv because there's some good people there. No, sometimes you have a chasana, you go to a mitzvah, a sudas mitzvah, where everyone is no good, but they still, they make a. I think the prime example of this would be a siyum during the 9 days. Very nice. Probably not going to find the Chaim Kanievsky there. Even the mitzvah ka'asik le'mimshach. Nevertheless, even though he's with a bunch of thugs, but Lamaisi is doing a mitzvah, he's not going to be eventually end up in a bad way from that. Achol b'ibra chodesh. We said if he ate by the Suda that they would make when they added an extra day to the month, they would get together, the Chacham would get together and make a special Suda for that. So that is a mitzvah, and therefore he's not going to become a ben sayru mayra from such a Suda. Do you mean to say that at this Suda that they made for Ibar HaChodesh, they served wine and meat? All they served was bread made out of wheat and beans. So he wouldn't have been able to become a ben sayru mayra from such a Suda in either case, because he has to eat meat and drink wine, and there was none served at this meal. Gemara says even if all they serve over there is bread and kidneys, he snuck in, by the theater. He snuck in the popcorn. He snuck in the wine and the basar. He's not going to be mimshach. I don't really understand this. I don't think everyone made a suda. He's talking about the suda they made by the Bezdin. How could it be all bad people?
Bad people is the consonant part.
I'm sorry?
I'm saying wouldn't have, even if you would have indulged because they were all good, there were some good people.
It must have been the Bezdin there. I mean, maybe I misunderstand the Suda. I'm sorry?
To me, it's shocking what the Suda consisted of, rather than beans. they were okay with that.
Yeah, no, it's true. Because as we're going to see later, the point of the Suda was to publicize that to publicize that they were ma'abed l'chaydish. So I don't know what the hakpada was to make it modest. Tan Rabban, ein oilam be'ibra chaydish pachas me'asar bnei oidam. They don't go up to make the suda for the ibra chaydish with less than 10 people. Ve'ein oilam la ela b'pas dagan v'kitnis, and all they serve over there is pas dagan v'kitnis. Ve'ein oilam la ela ar iburai. They only go up to start the suda. They only go up for the suda the night after they were ma'aber. So the 30th day is right. The 30th day is the day that it's not sure. Every month is either 29 or 30 days. So the 30th day is called the Yom Ha'ibur. So on the night of the 31st, that's the night that they make the suda. And they only go up by night, not by day. To the suda. They will make the suda to celebrate the Ibra Chaydish. It's all right. It said you only go up with pas and kiddush. They go. So that means that they used to go to Ma'abed Chaydish in a. That was just happened to be b'shas the Gemara. They went up to like some attic. That was where they gathered. There's many Gemaras where they say that they went up to this person in the attic, that person in the attic. So that was where they gathered. That was the gathering place. So then they made the suda there as well after they convened in the attic. I mean, we use the lashon attic, which makes it sound like a little garret with sloped ceilings. But it meant there was some second story of some chashav building that they used. But Tanya, we see fakert that it says that they went up by day and not by night. They have to get up early and go up. They get up early and go down, which means they get up early before it becomes nightfall, and they go up to the attic, and then they start the suda after it becomes night, and then in the morning they come down. In order that it should be publicized, they made a big fuss about it by starting early and getting up early, make sure they were there in the morning. Everyone would see them coming and going.
Spend the whole night with the suda?
Well, it sounds like they were told, they were told not to wait till the next morning to go up. Everyone should see them by shachars, and everyone will be talking about the suda that they made for Ibra Chaydish.
All they had is bread and beans.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. Let me see if it says anything. Let's just see the Rashi quickly, see if it helps at all. The Rashi starts, 10 people or more would get together, they go up to the attic. The whole point of this asifa was to be mefarsim, that there was the ma'abed chaydish shavruah la'ayin. It was not to look into the topic. It's only the day after the 30th. It's too late. You can't count anymore on the 30th day. I mean, yeah. Pas dagam will yadan mishamayim nocket pas dagam. Actually, with the pas oirs a doichin kasi. It's doesn't help. Doesn't help us with this. We said another person who's accepted from becoming a ben Saira Meira is if he ate Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim. Now, the Gemara I think is a little bothered. There's not a mitzvah to eat Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim. You have to eat it in Yerushalayim. That's a requirement. I don't know that you've been gates a mitzvah by doing it. It just this Ma'aser Sheni, it's also to eat it outside of Yerushalayim. I don't. Zak Gemara kiven dechi urchehu ka'achalei loy memshech. Since he's eating it in the typical way, it's not going to. He's doing it in the proper way, even though it's not technically. The Rashi Dechiyohurit Kederach Mitzvase Nema Boika Batsoim Vayayin Vashecha Mer Meiser Sheni. He's eating it in the proper way for Meiser Sheni. That is enough to say that it's not going to become from that of Ben Seder Mara. Achol Nevel Sutrace of his Shkotzim Uramasin, then he's also excluded. If it's either mitzvah or an avera, he can't become Ben Seder Mara. Amarava Achol Basav Oif Einenasa Ben Seder Mara. From eating a chicken schnitzel, he doesn't become a Ben Seder Mara. It's only real basar. Basar deraisa, meat. Banantnan Achol Nevel Sutrace Shkotzim Uramasin Einenasa Ben Seder Mara. And I think shkotzim are flying non-kosher animals, are shkotzim. Hata'ir nasa ben tzayir, but it's mashma that if he would eat a chicken that was kosher, then he would become ben tzayir, just because they're treif that he's not doesn't become a ben tzayir, not because they're not in the category of things that could make him. The Gemara says that he doesn't have to eat only meat and wine. Very interesting. I mean, it's such a strange halacha. That which we said you need to eat a tartima of basar, half a mana of basar. If he ate like 3/4 of it was basar, and then he finished up the tartima, he was mashlam it with the chicken, that's he's still going to be chayiv. That's what Rashi says. It's very unusual. Usually if you have a shear, you have to have the whole shear. Yeah. So Hashlim, Shafilu Achal Tatima, the Hematar, the Shlimal Tatima Mibatzar Ivis, Tmeim, and he ate he would be chayiv if he would have with some basar. Very shvar. What is the Mishnah? Then the Gemara, the Mishnah says a general lashon. If he ate something that was a mitzvah or an avera, he's not going to be a ben tzayir. Var mitzvah tanchumei avelim. Rashi says if he ate from the sudas havra, which is a mitzvah that they would make a special suda for an avra when he came back from the basic chorus. Dvar avera tainis tzibur. If he ate on the tainis tzibur again, he doesn't become a ben tzayir. The time of Mai. Why is it that a tainis tzibur he's not going to become ben tzayir mara? L'chayra, doing an avera is even worse. More reason to believe he's going to do it. Amakra in enushemei b'kalein 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 shel makom. This is a pasuk. It's exeris hakasuv that it has to be. He's not listening to his parents. B'dafka not listening to his parents, and not also disregarding the Rebbeinu Shalom. If he ate any meichel besides basar, he drank any mashka other than wine. It's coming to include figs, pressed figs, to include honey and milk, like we all know from the story of Sisra, that milk can cause a person to become drowsy, and dvash also makes a person heavy. And this kilis, these dates or figs, they would also cause a person to become lightheaded. These are things that affect a person's seichel. So one might think it's the same thing as yayin. Yayin also, or basar, you make some misamech a person. So these also changes a person's mood. So maybe they also have the same addictive effects, and he's going to go to a bad end. Tanya achol dveil ki'ilas v'shot dvash v'cholav v'nichnes l'migdash chayiv. This actually has an application. This mood changing abilities of these foods. Kayin is not allowed to do the avodah when he's sheker. So similarly, he's not allowed to do the avodah after eating these things. So one might think that you're also going to become a ben tzayir. That they don't have the same addictive properties.
It doesn't mention beer. I know they had beer.
No beer, yeah.
Addictive properties? There's a chassav. I think that's you mentioned also.
Well, this is talking about mimshach. We're talking about over here. Does it cause him to? There's a mimshach that he's going to continue with it.
The same way he said he has to be connected his parents, but not connected the mother.
So that was the exception. Everything else was a svara. That's why the
basar yayin is a svara. I thought
no. The Torah says basar yayin.
Right. So
but then the misvara we exclude anything that doesn't have the same mimshach properties, which Rashi says all the time. All these things mishum delay mimshach, because it's not something that's going to continue. So there's a svara that these are not the same as basar v'yayin.
So whiskey would be a problem?
It doesn't seem like it. We said it would only basar v'yayin.
What?
I think they had this.
Or anything else?
Beer.
The beer. So
Any-
we'll shake a line.
Will be it's similar to devela kilas, which it says is mistaka.
Maybe beer.
So maybe it is. Maybe it's like
Right.
a date wine, but it has to be real wine.
But we had even more. We had even the wine and the meat had to be like cooked a certain way, diluted a certain way.
Right. If it wasn't right, if it was too either undiluted or fully diluted, it had to be just in very specific, very.
No, my question is, I'm trying to figure out. Are we learning?
It's a little bit derish time in the crow. The pasuk says basar v'yayin, but the chachamim said this is only if it's basar v'yayin, because the point is the pasuk says because his parents say he's a zayl of a saiva and he's an inishamayim mekelenu and he's going to come to a bad end. So only those things that fulfill what the Torah said, the reason for basar v'yayin will be included in making him a ben saira umayra. As we're going to see, all of this is not relevant because there was never such a thing, at least according to one pshat, there was never such a thing as a ben saira umayra. Ein nasa ben saira umayra ad sheyochel basar v'yishteh yayin. Tana Rabban, achol kol ma'acha v'le'echol basar, shasa kol ma'ashka v'le'shasa yayin. Ein nasa ben saira umayra. This is the same as we said in the Mishnah. Ad sheyochel basar v'yishteh yayin, until he eats basar and drinks wine. Shenamar zayl v'seiveya. Chav b'shein rayin l'davar zeichel. But this is again in the Mishnah. It said there's no raya that zayl of a saiva means meat and wine, but we have a intimation of that. Shenemar al tehi b'saiva yayin b'zayl basa. Don't be b'saiva yayin. So you see saiva is yayin, and zayl basa you see zayl is basa. Lomar. Oimer and a second raya to this ki saiva b'zayl yairish, a one who engorges himself and he drinks wine, he inebriates himself, he's going to inherit Ukarayim Tilvish Numa. Yivarish is going to come poor. Ukarayim Tilvish Numa. Someone who sleeps will wear ripped clothing. Amrav Zera Kol Hayashim Beis HaMedrash Terasa Nasloi Karayim. Someone who sleeps in the Beis Medrash, his tire will become torn, meaning he's not going to have he falls asleep. I mean, it seems, I don't know, you need a pasuk for this. Person falls asleep while he's here listening to the shir, he's obviously not going to get the whole point. Like we just said in the pasuk, that the person who sleeps will wear tattered clothing. If someone stole from his father, but he ate it by somewhere else, not in his own house, his father's house, or if he stole from others and he ate in someone else's house, or if he stole from others and he ate it in his father's house, none of these will make him a ben saira umayra until he steals from his father and eats it outside of his father's house. The Gemara is going to explain the reason. Yehuda says, in addition to that, it has to be that he stole from his father and ate outside of the house. He can't just steal from his father; he has to also steal from his mother. But the pasuk mentions both of them. If he stole from his father and then he ate it in his father's rishus, he's not going to become ben saira umayra. When he steals from his, part of the issue is that he has to steal from his parents. He has to steal from his father because his father is very accessible. So that's something that he's going to continue to do. Again, he's going to be mimshach. But if he's eating in his father's house, he's going to be scared his father's going to catch him, so he's not so likely to do it again. If he doesn't have a safe place to go to eat it, he's not going to continue stealing from his father's wallet and ordering from Reserve Cut and eating it in the house because he knows eventually he's going to get caught. If he stole from others and ate it in other people's rishus, in that case he's not scared, so that mitigates that he'll likely do it again. But he doesn't have so much access to steal from others. It's easy to steal from the wallet that's left on the mantle, but it's not so easy to go and steal from other people's houses. And the worst, the least likely to be a ben Sarah is someone who stole from others and ate his father's house. It has both downsides, that it's not easy for him to steal, and he's going to be scared of getting caught. The only way he's going to be chayiv if he steals from his father and eats in other people's rishus. It has both factors, that it's shchiach, it's easy for him to get, and he's not scared. Rabbi Yehuda says he has to steal from both of them. Where do we see that he has to steal from his mother? Well, I'm sorry, where is his mother getting money from that he's stealing from her? Whatever Anisha has, her husband also has. I want to ask this question many, many times, and it's always the same answer. So, like Lizzie, right? You think of the answer right away. But the Gemara is going to give another answer before it gets to the one that it usually gives. Where he stole from the food that was prepared for both his mother and his father. It means it technically belongs to his father, but the mother had already cooked the food and she was about to eat it, and the son stole it. He has to steal money and buy it for cheap, and then he eats and drinks it. But you see, it has to be that he stole money, not that he stole food. Because it has to be that he got it for cheap, so it's likely he's going to be able to do it because it's not going to be too expensive. So rather, he stole from the money that was prepared to make a suda for his parents. Like we always say, whenever we say how does Masha Kanabaila, there is a way around that. If someone was makna to her, and he made a t'nai when he gave this wife the money that her husband doesn't have any rishus, that's how she can have money to spend that her son was able to steal and become a ben Serumayr. It's then again you wonder if that I guess someone gave, maybe her father, the mother's father gave her a Yerusha of $1 million. He's going to constantly be stealing from that. I thought the
Gemara was going to answer Nichsim Elok.
Nichsim Elok belonged to him. That means the Paris belonged to him.
Right, I understand.
So whatever it is, so what is she stealing? She has to steal money. So Nichsim Elok is not money.
So his karka, you can't steal that.
Whatever it's produced is his.
Rent it out of land to someone else. I don't know.
That's not stealing money.
Right.
The mission. Hayav roitze, b'imay ene roitze. If the father wants to go proceed with the case and to have the son declared a ben Serumayr, but the mother doesn't want it, av ene roitze v'imay roitze, or vice versa, in the nasa ben Serumayr. Hachi yushneim roitzim, until both parents agree that this son should be brought to court. First they give him malchus, and he doesn't listen, and then they bring him to court, and they say, we give up, go kill him. He's not going to be a ben Serumayr. The Gemara later on is going to say, as it must obviously occur to you, this never happened. There's no parent that would ever do such a thing, and we just drosh for kabel schar. The reason for learning the dinim of ben Serumayr is not for practical application, but rather that we should be it's there for us to learn.
Most of the things we learn next to us. Sorry.
Yeah.
At least you feel like you got something out of it. You got some hashkafa. Yeah, about all the things that you should avoid.
Yeah.
If the mother is not roy for the father, she doesn't become ben Serumayr. The Gemara is going to explain what that means. What does it mean? If you'll say that the mother was also to the father, he wasn't allowed to marry her because she was, let's say, his sister, or Chayv Mises Bezdin, she was his daughter, which is Chayv Mises Bezdin. Saif, Avu Aninu, Be'eme. What difference does it make whether they were over something? They were not allowed to be married. There's no marriage. It's still his father and his mother. The pasuk makes no mention of them being married. It just says his mother and his father. So whatever they did, whatever the sordid secrets there are by his parents, they still remain his parents. Ella, b'shavav la'aviv ka'amar. She has to be similar to the father. What does that mean? Tanya miyachi, the mother has to have the exact same voice as the father, ubemara, and look the same, ubekoima, and the same height, Ein nasa ben tzayir umayra. She doesn't become ben tzayir umayra. My time at the amakra inenu shamea b'kailenu, because she doesn't listen to their voices. But the koil being in shavin, mar v'koim not being in shavin. It says kailenu. It says they have the same voice. So since their voices are the same, their appearance and their height also has to be the same. The Mefarshim asks, where does that come from? Like, what kind of drush is that? Because they're koil, maybe just a koil. It's a strange enough thing for one thing. Why are you extending it to others?
It really made nice to meet you also. Kalenu like a kol shamakam.
Right, we already used.
Yeah, like try to squeeze in another. Yeah.
Come on, Azla Hadatanya Ben Seru Meir Hayav Elias Elias V'Lama Nichtav D'Roish V'Kabel Schar. Who is this like that we said that the whole din of Ben Seru Meir never happened and will never happen? It was only written that we should learn it to get schar. Come on, Rabbi Yehuda, like Rabbi Yehuda, because this is never going to happen that a person is going to have parents that look exactly the same. And if you'll say, what if they're identical twins? I happen to know, since I have triplets and I have boys and girls, people always ask me, are they identical? And I say, it's not possible.
Yes,
it's not possible. They ask if the girls are identical, and they ask on that.
No, I have a boy and a girl, and usually only Tatis ask me that. When they were first born, a boy and girl twins.
Yeah.
Fathers would say, are they identical? I'm like,
it's not the way it works.
It's not the way it works. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some major stuff that are not identical. Yeah, Iba is Sema, another possibility of Shimon. Reb Shimon could be the Madam who says, Josh, that it's Lehayev Never. It never happened to Ben Seir Meir. The Tanya Reb Shimon, it's a parent going to go and take him out to get killed. It never happened. In order to be Makabel Schar. Rabbi Yonasan, Aniri Isi v'yishavte al kivrei. Rabbi Yonasan says, no, you're both wrong. I saw a case of a Ben Seru Umayra, and I actually sat on his kever. Who's this going like that? The ir nidachas never happened. That it's not possible to have a case of ir nidachas. Come on, Rabbi Eliezer, like Rabbi Eliezer, the Tanya Eliezer. Call ir sheyeshba afilu mezuzah achas ein nasas ir nidachas. Any city that has even one mezuzah can't become an ir nidachas. My timer. What's the reason? Amakrav as kol shlola tikwetz al tayik ruchava. Pasuk says you take all the belongings of the city and you bring it into the town square and you burn it with sarafta beish b'kivin dekem mezuzah le'afshem. But if there's one mezuzah, you can't take everything and burn it. If sivlei sas and kain l'Hashem alekeichem, you can't. It says you shouldn't do this to Hashem. The pshat of the pasuk is this: that you were over you get ir nidachas. You have the psak of ir nidachas. People that you have to punish, is you shouldn't do this to Hashem. But we dash it to mean that if there's a mezuzah which represents the Rebbeinu Shalom, you shouldn't go and burn it. Reb Yonasan. So that would never happen, that you'd have a city without even one mezuzah. Reb Yonasan, Anira Isiya Yeshafti al Tila. Says, no, you're wrong. I saw a ir nidachas, and I sat on the what was left over. A mitzayra, a tzaras, there's a tzaras that afflicts a house. Muhammad says that never happened. Come on, Krabbalazar Reb Shimon. A house doesn't come tamei with tamei tzaras. Until there's a tzaras that's visible on two spots, the size of a gris, which is like a barley, on two stones, b'shtei salim, on two separate walls, b'keren zavis, in a corner. Archai kashnei grisin, urchavai kegris. And the width has to be, so it has to be exactly between, on that, spanning the corner on two separate walls, on two stones. So therefore, it's on two sides, so it's going to be the width of two grisin and the length of two gris and the width of one gris. My time there was a Shimon. Where does it come from? Ksiv kir. It says a wall. Ksiv kirais, and it says multiple walls, plural walls. Ezu kirshu kiris. What is a wall that's like two walls that the tzaras was visible on? That's in a corner. So that's the Gemara says that's unlikely to ever happen. and therefore it's like Hayav Eloi Niver. Very strange to me. I mean, we don't know what Saras is, but it's a punishment, right? It's something to punish some sense to punish someone. So why can't it occur in whatever way it occurs? Like, why is it saying that something that would naturally never occur? It never happens naturally. We say a person gets it as a punishment. Tanya Amr Blazer Tzaddik, Makam Haya Betchum Aza. There was a place within Tchum of Aza. Vayikayin, I say, Chavasa Sagirta, the closed up Chava. I guess that he means that was a place that was there was a place that was closed up, which means that they used to close up a Mitzayra, so there was actually a case. Shimon Ish Kfar Akai, Shimon from Kfar Akai says, "Pamach salachti leglil." I went to Glil, Varisi Makom Shemitzayin Naiseva Amru Abanim and Goyis Pinu L'Sham. They put a monument and said, "Don't go over here. This is where we buried the stones from a house that became infected with saras." So you see that there is such an example. Dr. Mish, if one of the parents was either missing a hand, a chiger, or lame, their foot didn't work, a ilem, or mute, a sumo, or blind, a cherish, or deaf, ain't a nasa ben sayrumayr. They can't become ben sayrumayr. Shenema, the tafshu by aviv, the imay, his parents take him. If they can't grab him, if they don't have hands, they bring him out to the Bezdin. They can't be lame, or else they can't take him out. But Amrulai, they say to him, they say can't be mute. They point and say, "This is our son." If they're blind, they can't point out who their son is. And he doesn't listen to our voice. If they give him commands and they can't hear how he responds, they can't say that he doesn't listen to us. They give him, the parents have to warn him, don't do it anymore. And they have to do that in front of three. Gemara is going to say, why in front of three? And then they give him malchus based on that warning. If he went and did it again, at that point he goes to the bezin of 23, the real Sanhedrin, Padina Nefashis. And like we said, there has to first be a bezin of Shalish that gives him malchus the first go around, so that those three of the bezin shel Shalish have to be part of the bezin of 23. They have to say B'nai Zeh that they already got malchus in front of you. The Bezdin had to have been there when he got the malchus. It doesn't mean the whole Bezdin, but that Bezdin has to be part of the second Bezdin that judges him for Misa. Talking about Sham Mina Be'inin Kra. Kedachsev. Sham Mina Be'inin Kra. Kedachsev. I'm sorry. And the fact that we're being so particular. We had this discussion way back in, where was it? Daf Mem Hey, about 3-4 weeks ago. There was the discussion of when we have a pasuk, doesn't mean to say it has to be specifically exactly as the pasuk gave the example, or is the pasuk intended to tell you generally, and you shouldn't be so medactic in the examples, right? Because we said over here, it says, B'neinu zeh, enenu shemei b'keleinu, we're darshnik from it, all these specifics that it means to exclude. He can't be lame, he can't be blind, because the pasuk doesn't necessarily mean all those specifics. So the Gemara says, you see from here that you have to go exactly the way it's written. So Gemara, Shani hacha de kula kro yiseru. No, this whole pasuk of B'neinu zeh, enenu shemei b'keleinu, why do you have to say exactly what the parent said? The pasuk gave extra words. It described what the parent said, so that must be coming to darshan that you have to do precisely as the pasuk described. So tomorrow, masim b'fnei shleisha, the parents have to give him asura in front of three. Lamali betray sagi. Why? All you need is 2 edim. Why do you have to be in front of 3? It means you give him einachanami. You just need 2 edim that they gave him asra, and this is not a regular asra. This is the parents warning him, don't keep stealing and buying meat and wine. And then if he doesn't, and then if he doesn't listen, they give him Malchus in front of him. Then you go to a Bezdin for Malchus. Malchus ben Saira Umara Hechiksiva. Where do we get that there's Malchus altogether? The pasuk doesn't mention Malchus. All the pasuk says is if he ain't Shemeya that he gets killed. The pasuk says over here, and we say by that's talking about, what was that pasuk about? The Moitzi Shemra, right? By Moitzi Shemra it says v'yisru, and it says over here by Ben Sarah Meir v'yisru, and mi ben uben mi ben. It says over there by the pasuk, yeah, leish ben Sarah Meir and Ishma b'kalav b'kalim v'yisru I say leishma, and it says over here v'yim bin hakois harasha. It says l'gabi malchus v'yim beis harasha. So we learn that from Vahayim ben Hakaitarasha to Moitzi Shemra that he gets Malchus. And then we learn from Vayisru from Moitzi Shemra to a Ben Sayer that there is Malchus. If he goes and does it again, he gets brought to a Bezdin Sanhedrin of Chav Gimel. We said before we need it for Zeveloi Sumin. So how can you say that you need it for that it's coming to tell you that you have to go to a bezin of, I'm sorry, this is not on the Nidum B'Chav Gimel, this is the part, you said, so this, we're not bringing the right part of the Mishnah, but it's talking about the last part, that you have to have the same three that originally gave Malchus also to be involved in the Misa. But how can you say it's from B'nai Nuzeh? In came left of Banenuhu. My Banenuze, Shma Minotarti. Since it says an extra word, Banenuze could have said Banenuhu, you learn both of them. Okay, we'll stop over here.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
Okay.